E plus R equals O, or event plus response equals outcome. I was 13 years old when I realized I had to do something. I watched as my mother worked 2 jobs to take care of my sister and I, and have little to show for it. I watched as crack cocaine decimated my community. I watched as many of my friends' mothers became addicted to crack cocaine. I watched as my friends came to school with pockets full of money and purchased their lunch while I ate my free lunch. My friends who used to share pants with me and others in order to make it through the week without wearing the same outfit. They were coming to school with new clothes and new shoes. They were able to do the things we had always wanted to do in the past. And this was in 8th grade. I was starting to see that selling drugs was becoming more and more popular in my environment. Let me refer to this quote from Napoleon Hill's classic book, Think and Grow Rich. When men first come into contact with crime, they abhor it. If they remain in contact with crime for a time, they become accustomed to it and endure it. If they remain in contact with it long enough, they finally embrace it. Growing up, I witnessed all types of crime. My early role models were numbers runners and drug dealers. It was common to witness fighting, shooting, drug transactions, robbery, and more. I soon became a participant in these crimes, and by the age of 14, I began selling drugs. It seemed as if everyone around me was selling crack, so I soon followed suit. I sold crack, and over the years, I became very good at it. It wasn't long before I was a big-time drug dealer or kingpin. I had made a name for myself in the streets, and I was well respected. But was it worth it? I stand before you today speaking from a position of experience. I served 17 years of a 30-year federal prison sentence. My release date was 2026, before I had my sentence reduced to 20 years. That reduction of my sentence was a new lease on life. I have been home now a little over 5 years. I came home focused. I was a certified personal trainer, so my first job was at the gym. I looked the part, and I loved the job, but things did not work out, and I left. I had many other jobs after that, and I used each as a stepping stone, and I learned from all of them. I went on to become a loss prevention agent at a local grocery store chain before getting a job at a beer warehouse where I learned to operate a forklift and became a certified beer server. After that, I became a certified peer support specialist in the realm of mental health. And finally, a licensed North Carolina real estate agent. I am a homeowner. I sit on the board of a nonprofit organization, Fathers United. I founded my own nonprofit organization, Versatile Development Group. I am the brand ambassador for a nonprofit organization, Village Minded. I'm a mentor, a life coach, inspirational speaker, and a member of the Deli Eagle Speakers Bureau. I have a millionaire for a mentor, Mr. Joe L. Dudley. I've had my artwork displayed in galleries, and I've sold pieces all over the United States. I did all this in spite of my 17 years of incarceration, but I was not always this focused and took a considerable amount of growth to get to this point. Early in my incarceration, I was very bitter. I was a 24-year-old boy when I left society, and I was mad at the world. I felt there was no way I deserved a 30-year sentence. I was in an institution with a lot of guys with life sentences. I was surrounded by individuals who had little to look forward to. the energy was low, and it soon rubbed off on me. I started to feel as if I may as well have been given a life sentence. Well, my attitude only got worse when I got my first cellmate. I ended up with a guy with 5 years. I hated this dude. I hated the fact that he had a 5-year sentence and he cried about it every day. He cried about his 5-year sentence to a guy with a 30-year sentence. At some point, I decided I was going to kill my cellmate. I don't know where I came up with this stupid plan, but I made the mistake of sharing my intentions with some of my lifer buddies. Well, I got screamed on and cursed out badly for it. This big dude from Indianapolis named Big L let me have it. He called me stupid and a lot of other things I cannot repeat. He told me to stop crying and to be glad that I had an exit date. He said that his exit date was when he was deceased. See, Big L understood that although he walked in that prison, that he would be carried out in a box. Well, I was embarrassed by the way Big L screamed on me, but I was also not crazy. See, Big L was the largest human I have ever seen. Plus, he had a life sentence. So I just listened to him and I changed my attitude. Big L changed my life that day. That was one of 2 major points of transformation I experienced while incarcerated. The second, Toastmasters International came to Pollock, Louisiana while I was housed there. Toastmasters was an international speaking organization. I learned while attending their first meeting that they boasted a 1% recidivism rate in their workshops in the state. We were to be the first established chapter in federal prison. That was all the convincing I needed. I joined. Joining Toastmasters was a great move on my part. It helped to make me a more confident communicator. It also set me on course to becoming an internationally recognized inspirational speaker. Toastmasters was a breath of fresh air to all of its members. We were in a hostile environment with very little solace. Our meetings became our solace. It was saddening to me when I was shipped to another institution and they did not have Toastmasters. I tried to get the program implemented at every institution I touched after that, but they were reluctant. Fortunately for me, not long after leaving Pollock, Louisiana, I had my sentence reduced to 20 years. That left me with roughly 5 years to my release date. I spent every day of that 5 years preparing for my release. When I was released, July 1st, 2015, I was ready. I felt I was prepared for every variable the world had for me. I had my family support in place. I had my short-term goals and my long-term goals written down. I had even vowed to abstain from female contact for 30 days after my release in order to concentrate on what was important. I immediately began my job search, and I immediately ran into problems. I could not figure out how to explain the 20-year gap in employment. I didn't have a car, so that eliminated me from many positions. I wasn't allowed to use my cell phone in the halfway house in order to check my email messages. My son had a child, had 2 more on the way by 2 different women. My mother did not live on the bus route, so when I moved in with her, I had to walk 2 miles daily to the bus stop. Despite these obstacles, I was able to overcome them and find employment. However, many come home who have far more obstacles and far less support. What happens to those individuals? A good friend of mine came home after 18 years. He could not get around the questions about his past, so he lied about it. He did not answer truthfully when asked if he had ever been convicted of a felony. Well, he got the job, did well at the job, and they loved him there. But at some point, they found out he lied on his application, and he was released. Even though he was perfectly capable of doing the job and had been doing it for a time. Fortunately for him, he was able to find something equally rewarding at another company. The truth is that even after serving our debts to society, we are treated as second-class citizens. We are faced with many obstacles, and many are not able to overcome them mentally. They often revert to old behavior and reoffend. 76% of state inmates reoffend, and 44% of federal inmates reoffend. Our prison population is over 2 million, and we have not changed our approach to incarceration yet. My story is an exception to the rule. I'm a licensed real estate agent because of persistence, not because the door was open to all. I recently published a manual to help individuals coming home from prison. I outlined 10 steps that I took to increase my chances of a successful transition. I was impacted by a video I watched while incarcerated. It was about a guy from Richmond, Virginia, who came home after 14 years. He had a positive attitude and a supportive family like I did, and he went on to become one of the top car salesmen in the city. He was featured in a commercial, and he made very good money. That video changed my outlook. Before seeing that video, I thought I would be relegated to a life of fast food jobs and minimum wage. After seeing that video, I became more ambitious. Napoleon Hill states in his book, Think and Grow Rich, that there is no remedy for lack of ambition. Maybe that explains the high recidivism rates. Individuals need something to look forward to. Incentive is a strong motivator for most. If you think that you will be relegated to a life of fast food jobs and minimum wage, then it is easier to get back into a life of drug dealing and stealing. There's higher risk, but there's also greater reward. The fifth habit in the 7 habits of highly effective people by Stephen R. Covey teaches you to seek first to understand, then to be understood. If we don't try and empathize with the situations of our brothers and sisters, then we will never truly feel for them. As an inspirational speaker, I understand the importance of positive reinforcement. We must try to work with these people and change their minds mentally if we want change. Goethe taught, treat a man as he is, and he will remain as he is. Treat a man as he can and he should be, and he will become as he can and he should be. I know that my story is different. I made an exception where others have failed. I'm my 5th year as a positive contributing member of society. I live my life for my family, but I will never forget the people who supported me on the other side. I will never forget how Big L changed my life. I implore you, I know that there are people who live vicariously through me. I implore you, as members of society, to let the judge's sentence be the end of judgment. Prison is often a result of a mistake in judgment. Mistakes are correctable if people are allowed to learn from those mistakes. Let us not forget that some great men were incarcerated at some point in their lives. Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela, even Jesus Christ. And they all went on to inspire nations after incarceration. If we want these men and women to succeed after incarceration, then maybe we should do what we can to facilitate these transactions and not add to the many obstacles they already face. Another quote from 7 Habits of Highly Effective People states that he who cannot change the very fabric of his thought will never be able to change reality and will never, therefore, make any progress. I have theorized that humans are a lot like caterpillars. When we are young is when we are most destructive. Some are more destructive than others. My point here is not the amount of destruction or the reason for the destruction. My focus is that, like the caterpillar, at some point in our lives, we go through a metamorphosis. At some point in our lives, we change. Unlike the caterpillar, our change is mental and not physical. We go into our cocoons figuratively and come out butterflies. Prison is that cocoon for many. I implore you to accept the change and stop expecting the butterfly to revert back to the damage that it caused as a caterpillar. Thank you.